Jamaica mourns one of her greatest sons. James Chambers, the renowned Jimmy Cliff, passed away on November 24th, 2025 at the age of 81. We extend deepest condolences of a grateful nation to his wife, Latifah, and his children, and his entire family, friends, colleagues, and fans across the globe. We rise in Parliament to honor a boy from deep rural St. James who became an international superstar, a cultural ambassador, and the conscience for the world. Jimmy Cliff was born James Chambers in Somerton District, St. James, the second youngest of 9 children. As a little boy in primary school, he would stand near a neighbor's sound system, absorbing Mento and the early popular music of the day. And then he would go on to write his own music, make his own songs. At 14, his father took him to Kingston officially so he could attend Kingston Technical High School. But in Jimmy's heart, the trip was about music. In East Kingston, he shared a single rented room with his cousin, and it was there he adopted the name Jimmy Cliff, symbolizing the heights he intended to climb. He walked the streets with his notebook, going from producer to producer, entering talent contests, determined that somebody would listen. One evening, as he himself later recalled, he pushed his way into a record shop and a restaurant as they were closing and persuaded the owner, Leslie Kong, to go into the record business, starting with me. Out of that bold move came the hit, and can you imagine, Hurricane Hattie, that was the hit in 1962, recorded when he was still a teenager, and then a string of early songs such as Miss Jamaica and Kings of Kings that made his name across the island. In 1964, this same youth from Somerton was chosen to represent Jamaica at the World's Fair in New York, and I leave this part to Minister Grange to give a little bit more of the context and history, because you were around then, and you would be able to give the details as to how Mr. Siaga was very influential in Jimmy Cliff going on to participate in the World's Fair in New York. And then he appeared on the television special, This Is Ska, alongside Prince Buster, Toots and the Maytals, and Byron Lee and the Dragonaires. Early signs that Jimmy Cliff was already carrying Jamaica's music beyond our shores. But Madam Speaker, many people met Jimmy Cliff not first on the radio, but on the big screen. In 1972, he starred as Ivan Martin in The Harder They Come, Jamaica's first major homegrown feature film. The character was loosely based on the real 1940s outlaw Reagan, but the struggles we saw on screen, a country boy in Kingston fighting for his place in the music industry, resisting injustice, came straight out of the lived experience of people like himself. The film was shot in our streets, our yards, and in our language. When it reached the United States, it was so rich in Jamaican patois that it became, as critics said, perhaps the first English language film that needed subtitles for the American audience. Yet, the world leaned in. The movie and its soundtrack were widely credited with bringing reggae to the world and remain among the most important cultural exports ever to leave Jamaica. In 1920, the soundtrack was added to the U.S. Library of Congress National Recording Registry as a work of enduring cultural significance. Through that film, Jimmy Cliff became not just a singer who toured abroad, but Jamaica's first reggae movie star, the face and voice of a new, confident Caribbean story. Behind the hits are stories that speak to Jimmy Cliff's depth as an artist. In 1969, he wrote Many Rivers to Cross while in the United Kingdom. Frustrated that his career had stalled, that despite his talent, he was still playing small clubs and could not break through the way he had dreamed of. He later explained that the song came out of that feeling of being lost and blocked on every side. It became a universal anthem of struggle and perseverance. Covered by everyone from UB40 to Cheer and Annie Lennox. Yet no version has ever matched the aching honesty of the original. His song, Vietnam, told the story of a US soldier writing home, full of hope about returning, followed by a letter to his mother announcing his death in war. Bob Dylan is said to have called it the best protest song he had ever heard, a testament to Jimmy Cliff's ability to speak to global injustice from a Jamaican perspective. You can get it if you really want it. Captured another side of him, the encourager. He recounted that people could come up to him and say, "I heard that song. I went back to school. Now I am a teacher, and I use your song with my students." That's how he inspired. For him, that more than awards was his success. The song has been adopted by political movements, sport teams, and classrooms around the world. Proof that a Jamaican message of grit and hope can travel to every continent. Later, his soaring cover of I Can See Clearly Now for the film Cool Runnings once again married Jamaican story to global audiences. This time through the improbable tale of our bobsled team, which at this point we acknowledge has won gold in an international competition. Jimmy Cliff was, by his own description, a seeker. He grew up in a Christian family, later embraced Rastafari, and in the 1970s converted to Islam after travels in Africa. Over time, he explored other traditions and religions, including Buddhism and Judaism, and in later years, he spoke of having a universal outlook on life, no longer tying himself to any one movement, but saying, "Now I can see clearly." Asked by the Observer about the greatest lesson life had taught him, he answered simply, "Seek to know who I am and be who I am." In another reflection on life and love, he said, "Don't hurt yourself and don't hurt anyone else. Love is the essence of all things." Those are not the words of a man chasing celebrity. They are the words of an artist grounded in conscience. His famous line that he would rather die free than live as someone's puppet or slave became a watchword for personal and political dignity. He often said he was not a supporter of any political party. He simply believed in right and not wrong, and always sided with the poor and the dispossessed. In that sense, he was a natural ally of every struggle for justice at home and abroad. Jimmy Cliff's journey from Somerton to the world stage is written in the honors he received and the doors he opened. He was awarded Jamaica's Order of Merit in 2003, and at the time of his passing, was the only living reggae musician to hold that distinction, the highest honor our country can give in the arts and sciences. In 2010, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where he is only one of two Jamaicans, the other being Bob Marley. The hall hails him as reggae's first champion who carried the music across the globe. He was nominated for the Grammy Awards 7 times and won twice for Reggae Album of the Year. First for Cliffhanger in 1985 and again Rebirth in 2012. I leave the rest of his long accomplishments to Minister Grange and others to point them out. In Jimmy Cliff, we see the best of Jamaica. Creativity, born in humble circumstances, courage to push open closed doors, a restless mind always searching for deeper truth, and a heart that insisted that love and justice must walk together. On behalf of the government and people of Jamaica, I extend profound condolences to his wife, Latifah, to his children and grandchildren, to his relatives in Somerton and across St. James, and to the countless colleagues and fans here and abroad who feel this loss so personally. We also pay tribute to the many Jamaicans and friends of Jamaica who inspired his music, chose a different path, who went back to school, stood up for their rights, crossed their own many rivers because a song from a small island told them they could do it. Jimmy Cliff has taken his final bow, but his voice will continue to echo in dance halls and churches and quiet moments of reflection. His life reminds us that Jamaica's creativity is indeed world-class and that our stories, told in our language, our rhythm, are powerful enough to move the world. May his soul rest in peace, and may perpetual light shine upon him, and may we, the living, honor his legacy by building a wonderful world of beautiful people that his song so often imagined. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker.
And as usual, thanks for watching. Leave your thoughts, your views, and your opinion. Be safe out there. On your way out, leave a small like, a small subscribe. I'm out.